Today's topic is on forgiveness, efficacy and ritual. Bhante Aggacitta is a Malaysian Buddhist monk who received his higher ordination from Mahasi Sayadaw in Rangoon in 1979. And after that, he trained under various teachers, notably Sayadaw U Pandita, Sayadaw U Tisara, Yanking Forest Monastery, Sayadaw U Achinia, Pa'au Forest Monastery, and Sayadaw U Tejaniya, Sri Umin Forest Center. So as you can see, Bhante is a meditation teacher who has actually practiced many meditation traditions. And besides practicing meditation, Bhante is also very skilled he's also a scholar in the Pali and also in the Suttas. So he has studied advanced Pali grammar at Wat Tamau, Lampang, Thailand, and also the Pali Tipitaka from Myanmar, until his return in Malaysia in 1994. In the year 2000, Bhante started a monastery in Taiping for the training of Buddhist monks. It's called the Sasanaraka Taiping Sanctuary in Taiping. It's a very beautiful place nestled among the hills. So if you have a chance, can go there and pay a visit. And since 2011, Bhante has been periodically conducting sutta study workshops with meditations, initially in Nalanda and then after that throughout Malaysia and Singapore. So he has, I think 2012, 2014, this year also he had one. How many of you were here this year? Towards the, I think April or May, we had a sutta study workshop at Bhante also. Okay? And Bhante is also one of the members of the founding monastic advisory panel of the Theravada Buddhist Council of Malaysia.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Today's talk is on forgiveness. I did some research on forgiveness in the Pali Suttas because somebody expressed her opinion that this forgiveness ceremony that is done so often nowadays in all traditions, especially during retreats, has become a ritual. And she opined that this was contradictory to the teachings of anatta. Let me read to you what she wrote to me. My doubt on forgiveness is because of the Buddha's teachings on not-self. If we understand the teachings of non-self, we will never be hurt or offended, right? Correct. When you forgive, it implies that there is a self that is hurt or offended. The practice of forgiveness, hence, does not lead to wisdom. It perpetuates wrong view. The practice is neither skillful nor wholesome. It merely appears to be so. The offendee feels good if his or her heart can forgive. The offender also feels good if his or her request for forgiveness is accepted. The good feeling experience is an impediment to our practice towards liberation. It serves to perpetuate wrong understanding at best and increases or reinforces our delusion of an egoic self or worst. Agree or not? It sounds very logical and reasonable, no? It is precisely because of my reasoning above that I expressed my concern to you regarding the asking for forgiveness ceremony at the end of this retreat. She attended one of my retreats before. The asking for forgiveness ceremony, apart from becoming a standard ritual for almost all retreats, is so very much at odds with the teachings received at retreats, especially retreats on not-self, on vipassana retreats. The teachings and practice point to not-self or non-self. Yet we conclude each retreat with the asking of forgiveness for offending or hurting a self. It is such a contradiction. Right? Do you agree? So if you agree, don't need to ask for forgiveness next time. Asking for forgiveness is to make you feel good, and to make the other person who is offended feel good. Well, my answer to her was this. I think there's a lot of people cannot draw the line or make a distinction between conventional reality and ultimate reality. That's a problem. When you go to a vipassana retreat, everybody, the teacher is always talking about anicca, dukkha, anatta. Not me, not mine, not myself. Everything is due to cause and conditioning. But when you get back to the world, it's all back to the self. No? You have to take care of yourself, your family, your job, your responsibilities. You have to interact with other selves in this world to survive. So how can it ever be possible to live in a world of no selves? In a way, if a person who really understands not self will not be offended. Correct? But how many people really understand not self? Even in a retreat where the effort is focused on understanding not self, how many moments do you actually understand and realize not self? So my answer to her was that the Buddha was very comfortable straddling conventional reality and ultimate reality. And he will toggle between one and the other depending on circumstances. Correct? For example, there are instances of forgiveness that were advocated by the Buddha himself in the suttas. And yet there are other places where the Buddha talked about not self. The Buddha said, Sabbe Dhamma Anatta. All things are not self. All things means all conditioned phenomena as well as unconditioned phenomena are all not self. They don't have an abiding self behind them. There are some very obvious examples where he used the word atta or self in a very conventional sense. For example, I'm sure all of you must have heard of this famous phrase. Monks, dwell with atta as your lamp, with atta as refuge, with no other refuge, with Dhamma as your lamp, with Dhamma as your refuge, with no other refuge. The atta here is self. Dwell with the self as your refuge, nothing else. And how to do this? In some places, the Buddha just ended like that. In other places, the Buddha will continue. How does a monk go about dwelling with Atta as a lamp, with Atta as refuge, with no other refuge, with Dhamma as refuge, with Dhamma as the lamp, with no other refuge. Then he says, here among dwells, contemplating the body in the body, feelings in feelings, mind in the mind, dhammas in dhammas. Which means that one who is taking or dwelling with the Atta as the lamp, as a refuge, is one who is practicing the four establishments of mindfulness. That is what the Buddha meant. If you are practicing the four establishments of mindfulness, then you are taking the self as your refuge, the self as your lamp, and no other refuge. It does not mean that you don't take the Buddha as refuge. Yeah, the Buddha, whatever the Buddha says has to be taken in context. Right? And some people just quote this short passage and say, we need to take the refuge in the Dhamma only. We need to take refuge in the Buddha or the Sangha. And so you have to be very careful, you know. Some people says, well, you know, you take the refuge in the Dhamma only, it means only the suttas and nothing else. That is also another way of misinterpreting or misconstruing this very short statement. But anyway, here the word Atta is used not in an ultimate sense, but in a conventional sense. And in another passage or another verse in the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, Atta is one's protector. Who else would be a protector? For with Atta well tamed, one gets a protector hard to get. So, self is one's protector. Who else would be a protector? For with self well tamed, one gets a protector hard to get. So, if you are obsessed with the idea that the Buddha taught only anatta, how come the Buddha is now saying Atta is your best protector, is your protector? There's no self, huh? How can you protect yourself? So again, you have to understand the Buddha's teachings according to context. In my recent workshop, if you have read it, if you attended it, you will know that in the book Lona Kapala Sutta, an arahant is referred to as one who is Mahathera, one who has a great self. Right? So again, this seems to contradict the idea of not self. An arahant has completely realized not self. And yet, why is it called Mahathera? Like you've heard of people calling Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi. So that Mahatma is also an epithet for Gandhi himself. Actually, the word Mahatma or Mahatma is used in a figurative sense, in a conventional sense, that this person is a great being. He's not a selfish person, he's a great self in the sense that he goes beyond or transcends the ordinary selfish concerns of people. And there's also another term in the suttas that in Pali is called Attamana. Atta means self and mana means mind. So literally it means self-minded. So when a person is pleased or satisfied with something, he says he is Attamana. He is self-minded. So it gives the implication that there is a self behind that. You know, if you're happy with things, if you're pleased, then your mind, you are self-minded. Okay, so we can see that the Buddha uses the word Atta according to context. Sometimes it's conventional, sometimes it's ultimate, and the Buddha never really drew any distinction, and you have to draw your own distinction according to context. Okay, let's now come to the forgiveness so-called formula that is used in the Pali Canon. This can be found all over the place. But this usually happens when somebody has transgressed something. Somebody has committed an offense, and that person realizes it, and he will make a confession. So here, this case is from King Ajatasattu. This is found in the Digha Nikaya. I think it's in the second sutta, Samanya Phala Sutta, where King Ajatasattu approached the Buddha, and I think it was towards the end of his discourse. At the end of the Buddha's discourse to him, he realized his transgression and he made a confession in front of the Buddha. A transgression has overcome me, Lord, in that I was so foolish, so muddle-headed, and so unskilled as to kill my father, a righteous man, a righteous king, for the sake of sovereign rulership. May the Blessed One please accept this confession of my transgression as such, so that I may restrain myself in future. So this is the standard formula used in the Vinaya and in other cases where lay people committed an offense against a monk. So here, the only thing that you change is the specific instance. Right here, the specific instance is kill my father, a righteous man, a righteous king, for the sake of sovereign rulership. If you did something else, like you spoke rudely to a monk, or you insulted a monk, then you should make a confession this way. A transgression has overcome me, Bhante, in that I was so foolish, so muddle-headed, and so unskillful as to insult you in public. May the Buddha, may Bhante please accept this confession of my transgression as such, so that I may restrain myself in future. Okay, so you notice that here you make the confession only when you realize that you have done something wrong. Not saying, Bhante, if I've offended you in any way, by thought, word, or speech, intentionally or unintentionally, please forgive me. It's like, a blanket confession. This is something which is intentional. You have done it and you realize it, then only you confess. If it's unintentional, then it doesn't count. You don't have to confess. In the Vinaya, when a monk wants to make a confession to another monk, the monk would have to approach another monk and say, I have committed such an offense. Then the other monk will ask him, do you see that offense? And then he will answer, yes, I do. Then he says, in future, please restrain yourself. Okay, that's the standard way of doing confession. If a monk does not have any offense and he goes to confess to another monk, and when you are asked, do you see your offense? What are you going to say? If you say yes, but you don't, then it's musawada. It's wrong speech, and again, that's a new offense. So that's why the Buddha said, if you don't have any offense, you cannot confess. Confessing without any offense is another offense. So then when the confession is done in this way, then the Buddha will say, yes, great king, and transgression overcame you in that you were so foolish, so muddle-headed, and so unskilled as to kill your father, a righteous man, a righteous king, for the sake of sovereign rulership. But because you see your transgression as such and make amends in accordance with the Dhamma, we accept your confession. For it is a cause of growth in the Dhamma and discipline of the noble ones when, seeing a transgression as such, one makes amends in accordance with the Dhamma and exercises restraint in the future. Right? When you realize your transgression and you confess, then you have a chance to make amends for it in future, to restrain yourself. You know, if you don't realize it, you make a blanket confession intentionally or unintentionally, you don't know what happened and how you're going to repeat it again. Doesn't make sense, right? But this appears to be a confession on the part of the offender rather than forgiveness on the part of the receiver, right? Who need not necessarily be offended. So in this case, the Buddha was not offended. You know, it's not a matter of the Buddha being offended, but this transgression was about something else. He killed, King Ajatasattu killed his father. And now he realized his mistake. And he came to make the confession in front of the Buddha, right? And so the Buddha forgave him. Or rather, he accepts his confession. Now, so here is all also about selves, right? There's one self killing another self and another, and confessing to another self, and that self forgiving and that the other self. Because they're living in a conventional world. And this makes you feel good. But this feeling good is not an impediment to spiritual progress. It lays down a burden. Maybe this has been plaguing King Ajatasattu for a long time. And there's no one that he could confess to. And probably when he came to listen to the Buddha, and while he was listening to the Dhamma talk, his mind became composed. That's one of the things, the advantages of listening to the Dhamma talk. If you listen to the Dhamma talk intently, then the 5 hindrances are abandoned, and your mind is ready for spiritual enlightenment. But he couldn't get enlightened because this was blocking him. So, but his mind was clear enough, and he now realized his mistake. Perhaps only now he realized that it was really a grievous mistake, and he made the confession in front of the Buddha. So, although this may not be a direct case of forgiveness for somebody who forgiveness on the part of the offendee towards the offender, there are also cases where this is involved. Not so much of a confession, but an actual forgiveness. But there are few. One can be found in the Lion's Roar, AN 911, Book of Nines, Sutta number 11. What happened was that a bhikkhu had, for some reason, maybe due to jealousy or something, made a false accusation against Ayasma Sariputta. Right, and then later he actually complained in front of he came to the Buddha to complain that Ayasma Sariputta had brushed against his robe as he was passing him. And he took offense in that. Went to complain to the Buddha. Okay, then after that the Buddha asked, I think the Buddha called Ayasma Sariputta to come up and to verify whether this accusation is true or not. Then at the end of the cross-examination, this bhikkhu realized that he had committed an offense. So what did he say? Then the accusing bhikkhu rose from his seat, arranged his upper robe over one shoulder, prostrated himself with his head at the Buddha's feet, and said to the Blessed One, Bhante, I have committed a transgression in that I so foolishly, stupidly, and unskillfully slandered the Venerable Sariputta on grounds that are untrue, baseless, and false. Bhante, may the Blessed One accept my transgression, seen as a transgression, for the sake of future restraint. Then the Buddha answered, surely, Bhikkhu, you have committed a transgression in that you so foolishly, stupidly, and unskillfully slandered the Venerable Sariputta on grounds that are untrue, baseless, and false. But since you see your transgression as a transgression and make amends for it in accordance with the Dhamma, we accept it. For it is growth in a noble one's discipline that one sees one's transgression as a transgression, makes amends for it in accordance with the Dhamma, and undertakes future restraint. The Blessed One then addressed the Venerable Sariputta. Sariputta, pardon this hollow man before his head splits into 7 pieces right here. Then Ayasma Sariputta answered, I will pardon this Venerable One, Bhante, if this Venerable One says to me, and let the Venerable One pardon me. And that's how the sutta ended. So we don't know actually whether the other bhikkhu went to ask for forgiveness from Ayasma Sariputta or not. He asked for forgiveness from the Buddha, but I don't know whether he did the same to Ayasma Sariputta. Now, in this case, being an arahant, Ayasma Sariputta would not have taken offense, right? An arahant's mind is unshakable. Whatever you say, if you didn't do it, you would just say, I didn't do it. And if you insist, that's your problem, not mine. And yet the Buddha asked him to pardon or forgive the offending monk. Okay? Now, there's another sutta where Ayasma Ananda was also asked for forgiveness, although he did not respond. Here, at least, Ayasma Sariputta said that I would pardon him if he were to ask for forgiveness. But in the next case, in this Kokanuda Sutta, Anguttara 10.96, Ayasma Ananda did not respond. To give a quotation from that sutta, there was this conversation between Kokanuda and Ayasma Ananda, asking some questions about the Dhamma. Then, at the end of which, this Kokanuda said, what? Have I been talking with a great teacher without realizing that it was Venerable Ananda? Had I recognized that it was Venerable Ananda, I would not have cross-examined him so much. May Venerable Ananda please forgive me. But Ayasma Ananda did not respond. He did not say, I forgive you. Now then, in Ambatta Sutta, Digha Nikaya, Sutta number 3, the Buddha responded when he was asked to forgive Ambatta, the young arrogant Brahmin, by the latter's teacher, Pukkarasati. This young Brahmin had engaged in a debate with the Buddha. Or rather, when the Buddha was addressing this group of Brahmins, this young Brahmin was interrupting very often. So his teacher, Pukkarasati, then said to the Buddha, foolish Master Gotama is the young man Ambatta. Let Master Gotama forgive Ambatta, the young man. Brahmin, may Ambatta, the young man, be happy. That was the Buddha's response. That's a way of forgiving him. Now he says, Sukhi hotu Ambatto manavo. Another case of forgiveness can be found in the Vinaya Pitaka, in the Mahavagga. Now, if a pupil did not conduct himself properly, a pupil of of a monk, if a pupil did not conduct himself properly, and deferentially towards his preceptor or teacher. The latter is permitted to dismiss him by saying or gesturing or doing both in one of the following ways. I dismiss you. Don't come back. Take away your bowl and robes. I am not to be attended to by you. At that time, the dismissed pupils did not ask for forgiveness. So the Buddha ruled that it would be an offense of wrongdoing if one did not ask for forgiveness. So if a pupil has been dismissed by his teacher due to various things, misbehavior or being stubborn or what, then the teacher should ask for forgiveness. Or rather, the pupil should ask for forgiveness from the teacher. So if the pupil that did not ask for forgiveness, then it will be an offense, a venial offense. At that time, the dismissed people did not ask for forgiveness, so the Buddha ruled that it would be an offense of wrongdoing if one did not do so. However, some preceptors or teachers did not forgive the dismissed pupils when they asked to be forgiven. So the latter went away, left the order, or joined other non-Buddhist renunciants. Because they were not forgiven by their teacher, they went away, went to other monastery, or went to join other, disrobe, or went to join other non-Buddhist renunciants. Then the Buddha ruled that it will be an offense of wrongdoing on the part of the preceptor or teacher if he did not forgive when asked to do so. Right? So forgiveness is something which is required by the Buddha, provided that the person who asks for forgiveness realizes that he has done something wrong and is genuine in wanting to make amends for it. Okay, so what conclusions can we draw from this? We have to, number one, a meaningful forgiveness ceremony does not contradict the Buddha's teaching of anatta, because the former is done on a conventional level, right? Like the practice of the 4 Brahma Viharas, when you radiate loving kindness to beings, that is also on a conventional level. If there are no selves, then who are you radiating metta to? Then while the latter should be applied to the ultimate sense, anatta should be applied in the ultimate sense, that there is no abiding self, things are all due to cause and conditioning, right? Especially in the practice of vipassana. Secondly, forgiveness or pardon in personally, is only meaningful or offense. Is only meaningful when an offense is seen and acknowledged by the offender. You know, when the offender has seen and acknowledged his offense, then only should he confess, or then only should he ask for forgiveness. If you are not aware that you have made an offense, then why ask for forgiveness? It's not meaningful to ask for forgiveness. There can be psychological relief for the offender when pardoned by the offendee or recipient. For example, maybe the person that you offended could have passed away or not within your reach at the moment. Then you ask for forgiveness from somebody else, just like King Ajatasattu, right? He made his confession in the Buddha's presence, and the Buddha accepted his confession, and that gave him some psychological relief. So if you are really overwhelmed by remorse over an offense that you have done towards somebody, the best thing is to approach that person and to ask for forgiveness from that person. If that's not possible, then you should do it through a third party. Okay, so that will help to relieve you of your remorse. And also, on the part of the offendee, if the person you offended is really offended, and if you go to ask for forgiveness and that person is able to forgive you, that will also help to relieve him of any grudges against you, or lessen any grudge. Some people are difficult to get rid of grudges. They can hold on for a long time. Yeah, what if they choose not to forgive? Then what if they choose not to forgive? The Buddha says if you don't forgive, it's an offense. But he's not a monk, so if they choose not to forgive, then that's your bad luck. So what you need to do is, if he or she does not want to forgive, then you have to go back and do your homework. Do more metta to that person. Ask for forgiveness mentally, real forgiveness mentally, and then do metta to that person. And after doing metta, actually is very, very powerful. After some time, you ask again, maybe she'll forgive you. Finally, there can be reinstatement of a broken or damaged relationship when forgiveness has been properly done. Right? So these are the benefits of forgiveness. But it has to be meaningful in the sense that you actually realize what you did. Not the blanket one, intentionally or intentionally through words, speech, or through mind, through thought, speech, or action. That one doesn't make sense. Now, also, right, having said this, in my retreats, I usually start my retreats after taking precepts and all that by doing a general confession formula. This one is for mostly for beings, for our offenses that we had committed in past lives. Okay, which we may no longer be aware of. And there I do a blanket one, intentionally or unintentionally, through thought, through body, speech, and mind. Why is that so? That's because in the course of one's meditation, sometimes one may be disturbed by certain inexplicable supernatural forces. And the experience of meditation teachers have shown that some of these come from the past life links. People who have offended in the past, which you have absolutely no knowledge of right now, but who had taken offense and borne that grudge in their hearts. And these people have been born into the spirit realm, right? And they are hounding you, waiting for the right time to take revenge. And one of the best times is when you are meditating. This happens only when people are meditating. If they are not meditating, it doesn't happen, because their minds are so busy with other things. These spirits can't get near them. But when the mind is clear, then it's time for the mind to receive all these finer vibrations. And this is very helpful because it works in many cases. Because when you in my retreats, we only do once formally together. But I always tell my retreatants, if you need it personally, you can do it by yourself. Yeah, if you find that you have a history of this, or this disturbance is a chronic problem for you, then you should do this more often, and hopefully this will help you to progress with less obstructions. Okay, another important form of forgiveness, or rather another important application of forgiveness, is during bereavement service. We monks in SBS are very selective in doing bereavement service because we don't want to be like the Sri Lankan monks going around every day to anyone who calls us. Then we'll be on call all the time and we won't have time to do our own thing. So we only to our supporters. One of the things we do is that in a bereavement service, we don't do much chanting, just the basic metta and Tirokutta Sutta. What we focus on is talking to the living and the deceased. And one of the things we tell them to do is to forgive one another. Because if the deceased has passed on but is still in the spirit realm hanging around, then the deceased will be able to understand what we're talking about. So this forgiveness is very important, because if you don't forgive, you hold on to grudges, then that will also bind you to that spirit world and prevent you from moving on to a better destination. I think recently we finished editing a talk called The Meaningful Bereavement Ceremony, right? How many of you have listened to it? Nana? Okay, it's uploaded in our website. It's uploaded to SoundCloud, so the link is in our website. So you go there and you just click. So there are many stories about how forgiveness has helped people, especially those who are caught in this spirit realm. Important thing is education. If you just chant, you don't know what you are chanting. The monks don't know. The monks may know, but a lot of chanting that is being done is not relevant to what is happening to the dead, to the spirit in that realm. What is more important is educating the living and the deceased. If you, I've got many cases there where lay people actually advise the dissatisfied deceased to move on instead of staying there by holding on to grudges, and they actually move on very quickly after hearing that, because they lack this information. Okay, now coming back to this practice of anatta, because I said that the practice of anatta, or rather the perception of anatta, of not self, is to be done on an ultimate level, right? And I said that forgiveness is to be applied on a conventional level. Now, the word conventional reality and ultimate reality, these two terms were introduced by the commentaries, particularly the Abhidhammikas. These two terms cannot be found in the sutta at all, in the sutras at all, because the Buddha never made any distinction. He would straddle between one or the other, because you actually cannot make any distinction. In real life, in reality, you cannot make any distinction. When you try to do so, then you fragment spiritual practice. So you have this problem of people whose vipassana practice is based on this Abhidhammika's view of ultimate reality. They go into retreats, they look at ultimate realities, and then they come back to the conventional world. They cannot operate because two different worlds, right? And when they come back to the conventional world, they cannot cope with their conventional issues and problems. Many years ago, Jack Cornfield, you've heard of him? A Path with Heart. You know, that one is Pete Nahan. He wrote something else, I've forgotten. But he's a very famous psychotherapist and spiritual teacher. Many, many years ago, he posed this question. He said, how come we Western Vipassana teachers have to seek psychotherapeutic help from our psychotherapists? Aren't they supposed to be masters of the mind? So somebody asked me this question, I said, and immediately when I was asked this question, I already got the answer. You know, it's because these Vipassana teachers were trained in the ultimate reality. You know, so they fragment their practice between Vipassana practice and their private life. It's different. You can only do Vipassana when you look at ultimate reality. Conventional reality do not exercise the characteristics, the three characteristics of anicca, dukkha, anatta. So because of that, when you do Vipassana, you don't do conventional reality. When you are conventional reality, you do that, you cannot do Vipassana. So this is something that I've been trying to deconstruct. I've been trying to deconstruct and telling people that the Buddha did not make this distinction, and the object of Vipassana is not ultimate realities. The object of Vipassana is conditioned phenomena. Conditioned phenomena is anything that arises due to cause and conditioning. That also includes concepts, ideas, right? Concepts, ideas, beliefs, expectations, these are all due to causes and conditions. Even the sense of self you have is due to cause and conditioning. Okay, coming back to the practice of not self. When you do Vipassana practice and you combine conventional and ultimate reality together, instead of dividing them into ultimate and conventional reality, you just look at conditioned phenomena. Don't care whether they're ultimate or conventional. Yeah, whatever that arises is due to cause and conditioning. So when the mind is calm enough, then you incline the mind to look at cause and conditioning. Where did this thought come from? How did it arise? Where did this idea come from? How did it arise? What is the immediate cause for it? What are the past conditioning behind such a thought? For example, you walk along the street and then suddenly somebody walking past catches your eyes attention. And then you glance at the person and immediately, you know, that person reminded you of somebody. Okay? So immediately when that person reminded you of somebody, then the thought will run to the past experience with that somebody. That guy had cheated me 20 years ago. And immediately, you know, the feeling, very unpleasant feeling will arise. Okay? Alright, so did that thought arise because you purposely think? No, right? That's anatta. That's anatta in action. That's not self. It arose because of present circumstances, because your eye came into contact with somebody. And that somebody reminded you of somebody in the past. Right? That is past conditioning. And because you had not forgiven that person for cheating you 20 years ago, that's why this feeling came about. So, if you are able to look at this again and again, as continuous as you can throughout your daily life, you will see that, you know, all your thoughts, ideas, your views, your assumptions, everything are based on causes and conditions. Right? And when you see this more and more often, then you understand. Everybody also like that. Not only me. Huh? We are all slaves of present circumstances and past conditioning. Unless you are a very good practitioner, then you can stop this. You can stop this by recognizing that it's no longer beneficial to hang on to this old past conditioning. Yeah, when you see this unpleasant feeling arise because you haven't forgiven that person, you see it often enough, then one day you say, why are you still harboring that grudge against this person? That's 20 years ago, he's dead already. But still you're hanging on to that grudge, and you're feeling unpleasant because of that. So what is causing you the unpleasantness is your own hanging on to that idea, to that grudge, that he should not have cheated me. And a lot of times we get angry at people, we get upset. Why? Because our expectations are not met. You expect somebody to behave in a certain way and he or she doesn't, and so you are very upset. He should have done it that way. She should not have said this, right? All the shoulds. So I call them snipers. Because you're always shooting people. You should not do this, should have done this, should not done this. Okay, so you keep on watching your mind now. When you have all these, when you have all these things going on in your mind, who is suffering? Yeah, you are the sniper, but you are the one who is suffering, because you are the one who is commenting on what people should or should not do. Okay, so it doesn't happen to you alone. Everybody's like that. Yeah. So when people misbehave in any way, then you understand. Oh, it's not me, not mine, not myself. It's neither them or theirs or their self. It's due to past conditioning. So once you see that, you can let go. So this concept of not self is also very important in the conventional world. You know, when you realize that everything is due to cause and conditioning, there's no abiding self there responsible for all these things, then it's easier to forgive. No? Yeah, easier to forgive yourself, easier to forgive others. Whatever thoughts that you have also is due to past conditioning. In the late 19th century, late 20th century, when psychology and psychotherapy were getting very popular, there was this very popular view that a lot of the idiosyncrasies of people are rooted in their childhood traumas, the way they were brought up by their parents. So if something wrong with you, you have some dysfunctional behavior, they always blame it on the way the parents brought them up. Right. But when you see not self, then you begin to realize your parents are not to blame too, because they are the product of past conditioning. That was the way they were brought up. Yeah? And they have not broken the link. So if you break the link, then you will not continue it on your children. Or you will just continue to do the same thing. Slaves of past conditioning. So if you want to achieve liberation from being a slave, you have to practice looking at not self in your daily life, not just looking at ultimate realities in a Vipassana retreat. Right? So that's why I always stress the most important thing is looking at how your mind reacts to what's happening to the senses, especially to your own thoughts. And to understand how these thoughts are formed due to causes and conditioning. Okay, so I shall stop here and open to the floor for questions. Any questions? Please feel free to ask. Yes. Somebody, please give her the mic.
Good morning, Bante. Say like when there is any object that arises, we tend to like note it. During that noting process, it passes away. Is that also, that noting is also another conditioning?
What do you think?
That means there is no I, but then how come there is this noting? This noting is coming from where?
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, like sometimes we learn certain thing, and then that thing got into our subconscious mind. We remember it, so we noted it as something, as what we have perceived. So I think it's another conditioning that we refer to.
You think only? Can you verify it yourself?
Yeah, but because every time, I mean, like we go for retreats, we are taught to note, whatever phenomenon that arises. So, be it a mental or physical phenomenon, we note it, and when you note it, it passes away. So, what is this noting? This noting is actually another conditioning. So like you teaching me today, you're also conditioning me.
Exactly.
Exactly. And then after that I go home, I also think of what Bante taught me yesterday at Nalanda, that I must always remember, the 4 hours and those things that you have taught yesterday. So we try to apply, but not 100%. Like even if you give this talk, I think I only absorb 50%. Then go home, I apply another 25%. So you're also conditioning me.
Yes. Of course.
So if I go to another talk, it will be another condition. Am I right?
So, everything is due to cause and conditioning. That's why the Buddha, one of the important factors for attainment of stream entry is to have the right association with the right people. That is the conditioning. When you associate with the right people, then you hear the right talk, the right Dhamma talk, you listen intently, you remember and put into practice.
So that is not the self. Yeah. And then like if we do certain thing,
Battery. Cause and conditioning, no battery. Yeah, while we're waiting for the battery, let me say something about noting. Okay. Now you have been conditioned to just note things. So you note things arise and immediately they disappear. That is good in a sense that it helps you to be focused or be more composed, because your mind is not distracted by all these thoughts. But if you just note too quickly, you don't get to know what sort of thought it is. You don't get to know the content of the thought. Right? Because in the Vipassana methods that are based on ultimate reality, you don't want to know what you think. You just want to know that thought has occurred. Thought arises, note, thinking, planning, go away, then come back to your rising and falling or whatever. When you do that, then you don't get to understand how the thought is conditioned into existence. So you don't just note it away. You note it, but at the same time, know what sort of thought it is. Although you know the content of the thought, you don't continue to make a story out of it. You just know, let go. Amen. You're trying to record. No. Yeah, you're going to do something.
As what Bante says earlier, during noting, the thought goes away. But if the thought is very, very strong, it'll come back again. It's like unaddressed issue. So it'll come again and come again. So, but I think it is better, like yesterday when I learned from Bhante, is besides thinking, what are you still aware of? And that thought doesn't come again. Because you sort of aware of what is going on, rather than pushing away and then momentarily shelving it. It will come and haunt us later when conditions are right. So that is a subtle difference there.
You see, what I taught last night, the other anchor principle, is just a way of stilling the mind. That's samatha, right? But when the mind is still already, then you have to investigate. That's the next step. Then you have to investigate the nature of the thoughts. To understand the cause and conditioning for those thoughts.
So, but in that case, in that way, the mind will always be chattering. So like in a retreat, we are not supposed to allow the mind to chatter. So that means we go retrospective and the why, layer after layer. So all the whole sitting will be on the thought.
You don't do that. Because last night's talk was very short. I couldn't tell you, this I will introduce towards the end of my retreat. So what happens is you just ask the question, why? Why does this thought keep on occurring? Just ask and don't think about it. Just ask the question and drop it and come back to your senses.
Oh, just ask why.
Yeah, just ask why. You must incline the mind to want to know. If you don't incline the mind to want to know, the mind will be very happy to just touch and go. Right? Touch and go. It's good enough. Then they will give you peace of mind. But you don't solve the question. You don't solve the problem. You just sweep it under the carpet.
Okay. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, welcome. Yeah, over there. No, here. Pass it to him. He's the runner.
Good morning, Bhante. In relation to the topic Bhante was talking about, to the answer to that sister, that you don't just note the thought away, we must look at the contents of the thoughts. But sometimes when the thought arises, it passes away so fast, looking at the content of the thoughts is impossible. It rises, it passes away, it rises, passes away. Before you could read the contents of the single thought, it has gone and the next one has come out. So there's no way of knowing what's in the thoughts. So the frustration comes in. Of course, you note there's a frustration because you want to know what's in the thought, the content. But it rises, it's just a split of seconds, it disappears, and the next one come about. So in that moment, how to note? And of course, you can note your feeling because the feeling of frustration, wanting to know and yet cannot know. You know what I mean? So, so you say note the contents. I feel that through my experience that sometimes I can't note the contents at all. I don't even know what's inside. It's rising and passing away so fast. And I know that my feeling is frustration, that's all. Thank you.
Then you already know the cause and condition for your frustration, right? Because you have this desire to want to know.
That frustration comes about later when I cannot get to see what is in the thoughts. Right. After rising and passing away, I'm trying to catch it. Many instances is going and passing away, and then suddenly the feeling of discontentment or frustration. What is this? I cannot know. What is this? So then in the matter of second, just give up lah. Because so frustrated and you don't know, you just give up lah. That's what I can say.
Okay, how do the thoughts come one after another?
Pardon?
Do the thoughts come one after another?
Yes, it's like a string, up and down. The thoughts flow and went off. It's non-stopping,
Okay.
But you cannot see the contents.
Okay.
So that's how you try to look at the content. Before you could really penetrate the content, the next one arises. That one has passed away. And doing so for so many seconds that you feel so frustrated. You don't know what is it. And then the sort of unhappiness inside you are supposed to call unhappiness because frustration. Not knowing what is it all about. Thank you.
Hey, hold on to the mic. Don't pass it away so far. Well, you try to know what sort of thought it is only when it becomes one thought, space, one thought, space. If they come all one after another, no need. You just need to know that they come one after another. You can see anicca, dukkha, anatta there.
Oh.
That's good enough. You know?
But when I see the thought rising and passing away, how come my mind doesn't know that it's dukkha, anicca, dukkha, anatta? I mean, I should be able to, boom, anicca, dukkha, anatta, but it doesn't. It just, hey, why is passing away, rising, passing away? I want to know what's inside, but I can't. But how come this mind doesn't realize that it's anicca, dukkha, anatta, the three characteristics?
No wisdom.
No wisdom. How can I develop the kind of wisdom that straight away when I see the rising and passing away, my mind will zoom it. Oh, let go. It's dukkha, anicca, dukkha, anatta, the three characteristics. Actually, it is there, isn't it? But it's just that this mind doesn't know how to realize it's the three characteristics. How do I make this mind realize it later on in my next practice? How do I do that?
Bo sek.
Bo sek. Bo kiang ah.
So you just keep on doing just keep on doing, watching one day, because you already know so much theory. It's all in the subconscious. It's just waiting for the right moment, for the right causes and conditions for wisdom to arise. So you just keep on doing what you are doing. Good.
But of course, when single thoughts arises, I can note, I can see inside. Then after that, you note, you see inside is the content of the thoughts. Then it goes off. Then after a while, you are calm. Then the next will come up again, and you can see. Then you go off. The one I can see. But when it's a string of thoughts, I try to penetrate. I couldn't penetrate at all. And then later on, I feel very upset in that sense. But I didn't know it's the three characteristics is there until I'm out of it. Then I say, how come I'm dumb at that time? I don't know how to zoom into it and say three characteristics. I get enlightened, you see?
Because you are too busy trying to look at what the thoughts are. You are too busy trying to find out what the thoughts are.
Yes.
And that's why you didn't see the three characteristics.
Oh, yeah, maybe so. Because I tried to find out what's inside. And it's so fast, it's moving so fast.
So you are doing it with loba.
Oh, yeah, maybe so. Craving, yes.
Yeah, so your mind is not pure. How can wisdom arise?
Maybe I suppose lack of wisdom now, bo kao sick, oh. Thank you, Bante.
Okay, anyone else? Yeah, Bobby.
Bante, in our life, after so many years, from young until now, we might have made some mistake in our life, might have committed something that's not so nice. So at this time, how do we confess? The monks will confess to the preceptor, right? And during Buddha's time, they confess to Buddha. But at our time,
can you confess? Confess to yourself.
To ourselves.
You can do that. Confess to yourself, saying that you have done this misdeed in the past. I really regret having done that. I shouldn't have done that. But this in the past, when the mind was deluded, right? So whoever I have offended, may he or she forgive me. If he or she is no longer here, wherever he or she may be, reborn in, or whatever.
Now, currently we will be aware. We'll be aware. Being aware means you actually sort of know you do something wrong. That's not actually confessing to yourself yet, is it?
Again?
If you are aware that you're doing something wrong, then that's
Can you
not
bring
really
the mic closer?
That's not really confessing yet, is it? You have to officially confess to yourself. What if it doesn't go away? It's still, of course, it will always be in the memory, right? Cannot be erased.
Then you have to, talk to yourself that this was due to deluded mind. At that time, there was too much ignorance in the mind, and that's how this came about. And all these defilements don't belong to you anyway. The Buddha said that the mind is luminous and is defiled by visiting defilements. Right? So you're understanding that way, then it's easier to let go. So these are just the victims of defilements. So now you aspire to be in better control. When these defilements come, you try not to entertain them and be focus more on developing wholesome qualities of mind.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, somebody else somewhere. Who else? Yeah, yeah, okay.
Good morning. We were talking about expectations just now. Referring to the workplace, for example, I have an assistant who works under me, and there are certain expectations that I hope that she can do, but sometimes she's not able to meet those expectations.
Sometimes or most times?
Most times. But also I'm learning to manage my own expectations. And I am one of those people who is quite a perfectionist, so I'm learning how to manage that. But in the moment, I get so frustrated, and it's almost like I have to snap to feel release. So I might say something like, "Why didn't you do it?" And that offends her, and later I feel bad because I don't feel I was very nice. But it happens so often, but in that moment of frustration, I just can't stop myself. What's your advice? Thank you.
Be more aware of yourself, more often, more continuously. You can see that a lot of our sufferings come about because of our clingings to expectations. I have also got a perfectionist streak in me, and that caused me a lot of suffering when I was in university, because we will have group projects, and you want to score, and yet the other group members are not doing their job, and you're doing your best. So that actually was a blessing in disguise, that led me to Buddhism to find out the cause of suffering, which is clinging on to expectations. So an important thing is that when you are in the world, you're working with people, you need to have expectations. I'm not saying that you live without expectations. That's impossible. But you need to have realistic expectations. You want to give work to a certain person, you must know his or her capabilities. If you give a certain type of work to her and she has not been performing 80% of the time, then that work is not meant for her. Yeah, you got to do something else. Give her something else which is within her capability. Number one. Number two is to lower your standards. Right? Maybe the formatting is not too good, the paragraphing is not well aligned, also but if the document comes out and it still gets across its point, then that might be good enough. Right? There are the two things. One is to have realistic expectations, and secondly is to lower your standards. And when you make expectations, also always have it at the back of your mind that this expectation may not be fulfilled. Right? So you won't be so disappointed. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, another thing is keep watching your mind watch your mind more often. Watch how you react to such things, and look at the cause of suffering. You are frustrated, you are suffering, you are angry because you are clinging on to certain ideas, right? So that is the cause of your suffering. So when you realize that, then you have to modify your idea or reduce your clinging.
Sorry, just to touch on that, from the conditioning from our childhood, my mum growing up was always very big chick, okay, very frustrated all the time. And I understand because she was a single mother, but that in turn made me a very frustrated person, and I get very, very big chick. For example, she'll be taking a nap and she'll say, "Why are you playing with the plastic bags? You just wake me up, Or, "It's 7:03, I told you to be here at 7 o'clock. All the cars are waiting behind me, faster, get in the car, go, go, go." So, that has become part of my personality, and I'm 30 years old now, and I find it so difficult to change that. So difficult. Because in those moments, it just overtakes me.
So you have to practice more.
Every day?
Yeah, all the time, as long as you're awake.
Okay.
Have you attended any retreats before?
No.
Oh, that's important. attend a retreat, learn the basics, and apply it in your daily life.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else? Yes, somebody at the back. No. Use the mic, please.
Morning, Bhante. This is concerning my mom and her sister. My mom's 88 years old and her sister is 82 years old. When my dad passed away when she was about 30, so she has to look after 6 of us. So her sister helped her. My auntie stays with us a lot. So later, when we were more grown up, my aunt sort of got married and she adopted a child. And then she came to KL to stay, and it was difficult for her to balance staying with the husband and looking after the adopted child. So, and then my mom sort of, that time we were a bit grown, and my mom helped her. So now that she has been very caring, and recently when we have all grown up, and she found that my auntie has more saving than her. Then she then brought up this thing about, I look after your child without sort of you paying me. So became the relationship between the sister become. So I'm not sure how to help, because she doesn't need all the money, but she just is. Recently she found out she has more saving than her. So what do we do? So I started to talk to her. I said, Mom, this sister is more important, or this sister is more important to you, the sister relationship, or money? You know, you willingly helped look after her son, and she also helped us, you know. But so she'll be calm about it. Then the next time she talked to her sister, and that was last Saturday, she spoke to my auntie. She said, I never charged you for looking after your son. So what can we do, or what can... Yeah. So I don't know what to do. It's, because now she's getting old, although her mind is still clear. She's clearer about historical stuff.
Yeah.
Than the
Right. Yeah. You have to do more metta towards her, and try more often to tell her about it. What you did was correct. You know, you have really approached her several times, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It will go away and then
come back again.
Yeah. When she talked to the sister. So actually my sister, my auntie wanted, she stays with her son here, but she feels very lonely because the son goes out. So when there's a holiday, she doesn't have to look after her grandchildren. She would love to go to my mom's place. So she called to go there, and then this thing came out. So, yeah.
So try harder. With metta more often.
Yeah,
I know, because she's of getting old. So I mean, it's not easy to change her mind. And if you want to try to, you have to be very patient. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to prepare myself before I talk to her, because why can't you see this? You know, like she taught us to be like, we are very close with my sisters, and we give easily to each other. But she used to do that, you see. So now I'm not sure what's happening.
Okay, getting old now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Anyone else?
Bhante, in Vipassana, we know that the objective is actually to observe the conditionality of the sankharas that occur at the 6 sense bases. But I also have come across some teachings, by certain ajahns, who actually just asks us to just watch the mind and do not look at the conditionality, how these thoughts actually arise. For example, if any of the 5 hindrances arise in your mind, or if, say, for example, any of the defilements arise, just watch and just observe as an independent observer, and do not contemplate, on how these thoughts arise, So just watch objectively and see how these thoughts actually, arise and pass away.
Yeah,
So,
see how. That's really looking at
so how just to observe how that it just comes and goes, not necessarily how. You don't actually go into the conditionality of these thoughts or these defilements or these 5 hindrances. So these Ajahns actually they teach that we just watch them independently. So to me, watching the mind itself, it seems to be just sati, but not necessarily sampajanya, because you don't exactly see how these sankharas actually arise. So I just want to ask Bhante whether watching the mind itself, without looking at conditionality, as some of these Ajahns teach, actually demonstrate, the correct, the qualities of sati sampajanya, or is it just sati?
I would say this is just the beginning part of Chittanupassana.
Right.
The beginning part,
Right.
where it says, when the mind has lust, it has lust. When it has no lust, it has no lust.
Right.
When it has anger, it has anger.
Yes.
No anger, no anger.
Yes.
That's only the beginning part. And after that, then the Buddha says he will know the origination Dhamma, the origination Dhamma and the cessation Dhamma.
Yeah.
That's when the cause and conditioning come in.
Right. But based on what these Ajahns teach, they say do not basically dwell on this. Just observe them objectively, independently, as an independent observer, and from this, panya will arise. So, to me, it doesn't seem quite complete, because to me it's just basically it's just a sati, but there's actually no sampajanya involved in this process.
Correct.
So I just want to get Bhante's views on
Yeah,
this.
I agree with you. Never mind, Billy is a good runner.
But Bhante, what Bhante is saying is it's more like investigating, isn't it? When the thought arises, as what Brother Kokchi was saying, the Ajahn says just watch it and let it, just watch it without doing anything. But what Bhante is saying is conditioning, and it means you're doing investigation, right? So basing on this I suppose through investigation, then the wisdom can arise. If you just sit and watch with mindfulness, that's what I normally do also lah. Now I'm trying to learn how to investigate. Of course, we're very calm, very peaceful. It's very nice. But the thing is that there won't be what do you call it, panya lah, no wisdom lah. So by investigating, right, what Bhante is advocating or trying to tell us is we must see the cause for the thoughts to arise. Is it?
I said you incline the mind to see. You don't go and purposely try to see intellectually.
Oh, incline. What
Because
do you mean? How do you incline the mind to see? I don't understand this. How do you incline?
If you don't incline the mind to see, the mind will be very satisfied with just touch and go. See, come, then go, and then nice and peaceful, and then the mind will get stuck in there for a long time.
Oh, no, it can come out again.
Come out again and do what?
Yeah, you are very nice and peaceful for a long time. After that, you can come out. Then you think that, to my experience, I want to see my body. Then I will look at my body. Sometimes I can feel a bit of the pain coming in. Then I look.
Yeah,
then after that, I go into peace and gain.
Yeah, I know. But then, as you said, no wisdom.
That's why how to incline the mind to see, to make the wisdom arises. You see, because I think I'm lacking a bit in wisdom. That's why I don't know the three characteristics when it arises in front of me. So I do not know. So how do I incline the mind to see? How? Can you give me an example or something like that?
Ask how or why.
Ask my mind when doing the meditation.
Yeah. How did this thought come about?
Oh, I see. Then later on,
why did this thought come about?
Okay.
Just ask, but don't go and purposely answer it.
Yeah, just ask and then let it go and then just go meditating lah.
Not when there are many thoughts,
Yeah. And the mind is, that comes out and then the mind is quite calm. Just ask how comes like that, isn't it? Something like that, isn't it? Okay.
Then don't stop the meditation after you get up from your sitting. Continue it in your daily life. When you get up from there, then keep on watching how the mind is reacting to what's happening at the senses.
Yeah, sometimes I can do that, even in my daily life. Sometimes
wait.
Step back a bit and look, but sometimes I can't.
If you step back and look, or stay with your senses, that's still maintaining your samadhi. But when thoughts arise, you need to also incline the mind to know why and how these thoughts arise. Okay? Where did this thought come from? I was doing something, trying to be mindful of your physical movements, and suddenly a thought arose. Yeah, you catch it. Hey, where did this thought come from? Ask now.
But I know this one very gross type lah. I feel like whenever my opposite neighbor's child cry, she doesn't cry. She scream and cry. The type of whining, screaming away like 熬板 they cry.我心真呀乱，我听讲乱，我 very uneasy. Then the uneasiness comes about. I know immediately it's very cross that there's a cause of it lah. That when I know straight away, I don't have to incline my mind because I'm very happy doing whatever, watching TV or something. Suddenly the fellow scream and cry so loud. It's across the road. Suddenly 心真呀乱. Then it scream for so long, sometimes for half an hour or longer. Now 心真呀乱.
Why?
I don't know why the child cry, but I feel just 心真呀乱.
Because
the child cries and screams so loud that it affects my...
That is only the cause.
That's a cause lah.
That is the immediate cause.
What
is the condition?
What
is the past conditioning for having such a reaction?
I do not know.
Ask.
But I know the fellow cry and then it affects me, that's all.
Next time it happens, so since it happens so often, ask now. Ask now. Ask yourself why.
Why it affects me so badly?
Why it affects you so much?
Maybe psychologically there's something inside hidden.
Right.
From a child, I wouldn't know. Also, I wouldn't know.
Maybe you don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
So what were you doing then?
Also, maybe I wouldn't know as a child.
What were you doing then?
Sometimes I'm doing some reading, or sometimes I'm watching a TV, or sometimes I'm doing something in the house. Whatever I'm doing in the house. So when the fellow cry for a while, that type of cry, yelling and screaming type, like, oh, but you want something, cannot get one type of thing, So it prolonged for half an hour or 20 minutes, and then 3-4 times a day, it really gets into me, I do not know why. That's why I was telling my friend that, how I feel very unhappy about it. No,
so
sometimes I'll take a car and go off lah.
So there's some past conditioning. If you just walk off, you don't solve the problem. You're just, sleeping under the carpet.
I grumble lah. I said, why can't she shut up, man? Grumble lah. As I'm doing something, I said, why can't you shut up?
Then you become a sniper and you
But I do not know why, but I know it's Sim Jan Luan. But the normal cry, like baby cry hungry, it's okay for a while, then they are fat, then the fellow kept quiet, But so if 4-5 times a day, then it eats into me, I do not know why, honestly.
So ask.
Okay, next time I'll do that. Because very often the fellow is crying.
Ask, but don't figure out, Ask and then come back and be aware of your activities.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Bante. I'm doing Vipassana for many years. I always got stuck in my meditation. After, say, around half an hour, then I don't feel anything, not even my body, everything is like missing. It's like...
What was your mind aware of at that time?
My mind aware of that I don't have a body, I don't have anything except my mind, and it's very peaceful.
Very
but
peaceful.
Yeah. And then I try to note back, where's my body? But I don't feel the body. And
what were you doing before that happened?
I was doing meditation, Vipassana, rising and falling.
Rising and falling, okay.
Yeah.
So you're focusing on the rising and falling.
Yes,
correct?
yes. Until it disappeared, everything is gone.
So you're still aware of the rising and falling lah?
No more.
No more rising and falling?
No more.
Okay.
Nothing. It's like emptiness. and I don't know. I ask myself why, but nothing come out. Because I did ask you once last time. You said just ask question why, but it doesn't give me an answer for that, and it's like everything is gone.
Okay,
You
then what do
don't
you do? What do you do?
Like hanging nowhere. Like the mind is there, like an hour watching something. There's nothing to watch, and you don't feel anything at all.
So when there's nothing to watch, the mind will start to think, no?
Huh?
Or imagine something.
Yeah, that's why. Then I ask myself why, but it's like I can feel that there's nothing at all. So I try to go back to my rising and falling, more intense.
Got still rising and falling?
Yeah. Then it comes back again, and then I
Did you manipulate your breath to feel the rising and falling again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I
No,
try to like catch back my breath.
No. I mean manipulate in the sense that you make it coarse so that you can feel it. Purposely make it obvious since you cannot feel it anymore.
Yes.
Did you do that?
Yes.
No,
yes.
that's not what you should do. What you should do is look at the mind itself.
Oh.
You know the 4 aggregates.
Yes.
What are the 4 aggregates?
Oh, your body.
No, that's 5.
Or your 5.
The last 4.
The last 4. Feeling, perception, mental formation, all this. Yeah.
One more, last one.
Consciousness.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when your mind is the bodily aspect is all receded into the background, it's not clear, then you're ready to watch the mind itself. Right? Watch the mind itself.
Again.
Then you watch the mind itself. Look at the 4 aggregates.
Oh. Okay.
Within the mind.
Yeah.
You know? Stay with the mind and try to look at the 4 aggregates. Feeling, how does the mind feel? Okay? And then look at sanya. What does the mind recognize? Perception, that's sanya. What does the mind recognize in there? Yeah, but there's a sense of awareness, right? A sense of awareness is there, right? That is consciousness.
Oh,
that's the 5th aggregate.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So you move around and look at these 4 aggregates. These 4 aggregates, because rupa.
Not your body.
No more, no more. So look at these 4.
Oh, okay.
These 4 aggregates.
Okay. Just keep looking at
these
4
of them.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay, then the first one is Vedana, feelings, right? How the mind feels, nice, not nice, comfortable, right? Okay, is that feeling there all the time? And secondly, perception, he recognizes that this is a good feeling. He recognizes, he recognizes there's no more physical sensations. He recognizes that there's consciousness, there's the sense of awareness. That is the job of the second one. Right? The third one is volitional formation. Volitional formation is inclining your mind, directing your mind to want to know. Directing your mind, the volition, wanting to know what is feeling, wanting to know what is sanya, wanting to know what is consciousness. The will, the volition behind it. Okay? And then consciousness is the bare awareness that you're still aware. Although there's nothing there, there's still this awareness.
But you wanted, that means you are clinging to that wanted. But I thought we are not supposed to cling into something.
No. This the third, that aggregate, sankhara aggregate, volitional formations, volitional, it involves will. I'm saying one in the sense of a will, volition. Yeah, okay, not one in the sense of lobha, not in the sense of greed.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So you say you incline the mind to see what sort of feeling you have at the moment. That is a volition. Right? You incline the mind to check what you recognize. There's another volition. You incline the mind to see consciousness. There's another volition. So these are volitional activities of the mind. That is the third of the 4th aggregate. The last one is consciousness. Consciousness is the sense of being aware, of being conscious. You say that there are no more physical objects, but there's a sense of awareness, isn't it?
Awareness,
there's a consciousness, right?
Yeah.
So look at these 4 things. Look at these 4 things. Okay, don't try to manipulate your body so that your rising and falling becomes gross again and go back to a gross.
Yeah, because some monk told me that you go back to your rising and falling.
No, because your mind has gone to beyond the rupa. beyond the five senses.
Oh.
So now you just stick to the sixth sense.
Okay.
It's sixth sense base.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's somebody behind next. There.
Bhante, can you clarify? I have this doubt about conditioning and is that the free will? Example that when I make decision to come here or not to come to attend your talk, then my mind decide if I don't come, then later I can listen to your maybe MP3 or CD. Then the other mind, the other thought arises said, oh, if I come, then I may personally be here. Then some stimulation may arises better.
Stimulation.
That means if I come personally, then some better thoughts may arise when I listen to you personally. So then I decide I have to come here Then is this not considered a free will? Then it is because of conditioning in the past. I have this experience.
What do you think?
I need your further explanation because I have doubt. Sometimes I feel I have free will. Sometimes I feel I don't have free will because of the past conditioning. So I have this. I have to make this decision. But then I say I sometimes have free will because in other condition I may choose not to come because of my mind at that time. I maybe conditioning. I decide not to come. So yeah. I am not clear about this.
Whatever decision you make, whatever choice you make, is also based on conditioning, on causes and condition. Yeah. Just now you said that if I come, then I may get more stimulation, right? Is that the main reason?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then this stimulation must have been based on a past experience.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So this is past conditioning. So stimulation in the past has done you good, right? And then you want to recreate that past conditioning.
Yes.
So everything is due to cause and conditioning. You cannot run away from it.
So, but on other circumstances, I may choose not to come because of at that time my.
Yeah, you see, because of. Yeah. So that is also due to other cause and conditioning.
So is that not no free will?
There's no free will. The will is not free. All whatever decisions you made are all based on cause and conditioning.
Okay, then if there's no free will, do I have to take responsibility of myself?
Yeah, if there is no self, who takes responsibility? Right? Not. Yeah, because actually there's no self in the ultimate sense, but there's only the five aggregates. Okay, so whatever karma that is created is not created by the self. The karma is created by the fourth aggregate, sankhara. The fourth aggregate creates the karma. Then the results come in the form of the five aggregates. The result of the karma comes in the form of the five aggregates. If you did bad karma, then the five aggregates will give you bad experience. There's no one in there. But any person, any individual, any being is composed of the five aggregates. So these five aggregates are changing all the time, and they are also subject to past conditioning, which is past karma. Right? So you say, when you say I take responsibility, is on a conventional sense, I say yes. But in the ultimate sense, no, you don't take responsibility. You don't have to take responsibility. Automatic. It is sankhara that is the one that creates all this karma, and as a result of this karma, the five aggregates are there. So if you really create bad karma in the past, then whatever you experience through the senses will be unpleasant. Your body also will be disfigured or disabled or whatever. Your senses may be also not perfect. According to So the Buddha said in one sutta that these are all past karma. Your six senses are all past karma. And your present karma is your reaction to what is happening in the senses.
Then my reaction also based on cause and conditions.
Yeah, based on cause and condition. That's why just now I was answering one lady. I say one of the most important, one of the most important factors for stream entry is association with the right people. That will give you the cause and the conditioning for getting right view. If you start off with wrong view, then you're not going to get to right liberation.
Then the decision to associate with the right people also is based on causes and conditions.
Yeah, of course.
Then is it a fate? Then can be
fate.
Yeah, because it's all. Then I can't decide whether I want to associate with the good people. Then it's because of the causes and conditions. Then I make this decision to or not to associate. Then this thing also not determined by me.
Yeah.
Then is it a fate? Can we say that because of the?
Not really fate lah. Not the fate. It's not predestined. I said it's due to present circumstances and past conditioning. So there's this present circumstances involved. Right? If you did really very bad karma, then you may be born in a non-Buddhist country. You're born in the Middle East. Then you're finished. What chance have you got to go near the Dhamma? You could say it's fated in a sense. Because there are some effects of karma that cannot be changed. This is fated. Even the Buddha also cannot help. That is fated. But there are some effects of karma that can be tweaked. You can create good karma to sort of cover up the bad karma. But some cannot cover. So it's very complex. Because karma can be generative, it can be supportive, it can be destructive. And it can be, what do you call that? One more. Generative is productive. Productive and generative same lah. Productive and generative same. Yeah, one more I forgot. Destructive is the last one. There's one other one. Instead of support, what's the opposite of support? Obstruction. Obstruct. So karma can manifest, the result of karma can manifest in 4 ways. One is generate things like generate your body. When you are born, your body is generated. Your 5 senses are generated. That is generation by generation. Then supportive is when you are born, you have the good fortune to be born as a human being, and you are born in a Buddhist country, in a good family, with a wealthy family. These are supportive karma. But if you are born in a Buddhist country, then you have this obstructive karma. Then you may be born in a Buddhist country, but your financial circumstances of your family may be so poor that you don't have a chance to come, and you are too busy making a living that you have a chance to come to listen to the Dhamma. Then destructive karma is the one that terminates your life. Right? Even though your generative karma gives you a lifespan of 80 years, but because of destructive karma, it can come in between and cut off your life at 40. Okay, so karma can manifest in many ways, the results of karma. Okay.
I still have doubt about this fate, because all things are caused by causes and conditions. So, but towards the very beginning, then that it seems to me is a fate lah.
Towards the beginning.
That means all things are because of previous. Some are caused because of the previous causes and conditions. Then that previous causes and conditions are also based on another earlier causes and conditions. So if we trace, there's something like for me is a fate lah, because
no. What I say is present circumstances and past conditioning.
But,
if you just say it's all due to past causes and conditions, yes, I agree with you. Then there's fate.
Then present circumstances are also based on causes and condition of my mind affected by the causes and conditions in the past.
Okay.
Present moments are affected by my previous causes and conditions that make me to make one of the decision. Then present moment is not my free will. It's because of my earlier experiences then affected me to make some decisions. That means there's no free will. There's my doubt lah. Is it because of the all of the things are based on causes and conditions?
That's why the Buddha was asked the same question. One Brahmin came and said that he believed that everything that we experience, everything that we experience is through karma, is the result of karma. And the Buddha says no. There are several ways that we experience things. Karma is only one of them. Can't remember all of them.